Welcome to the next lecture, lecture number 20, Analysis and Design of Basic BJT Schmitt Trigger Circuit. So here is the disclaimer. The information presented in this presentation is meant to supplement and not to replace professional guidance or training. A Schmitt trigger is a fast operating voltage detector. When the input voltage arrives at the upper or lower triggering levels, the output voltage rapidly changes. The circuit operates with almost any input waveform and always gives a pulse type output. The transistor Schmitt trigger circuits can be designed to trigger at specified upper and lower levels of the input voltage. The voltage comparator circuits produce an output pulse when the input voltage level becomes exactly equal to a reference voltage. So basically it's a bistable circuit consisting of two transistors connected regeneratively. So here is the circuit diagram. So now let us try to analyze the operation of this circuit. You can make out there are two transistors, transistor Q1 here and transistor Q2. Both these transistors are of type NPN. So these two transistors are to be identical. If we use BC107, then both these transistors are to be of same type, same specification, that is BC107 or CL100 or SL100 and so on. So basically again, as I've said, like a Schmitt trigger is a bistable kind of a multivibrator. So there will be two stable states. So let me write the stable states. So there are two stable states, state 1 and state 2. In case of stable state 1, the transistor Q2 is on, that is into saturation, and Q1 is off, that is it is driven to cutoff. In stable state 2, it's the reverse of the state 1. In this case, the transistor Q1 is on and Q2 is driven to cutoff. You can make out from the circuit diagram, the input is applied at this point at the terminal Vi marked. So initially when Vi equals to 0, so let me write here, initially when Vi equals to 0, naturally the transistor Q1 will be off. Fine. Now here in this circuit you can make out there is a parallel combination of R1 and R2. The other end of R2 is connected to ground. So this voltage divider of R1 and R2, so this R1 and R2, they act as a voltage divider and it provides a forward bias at B2. So B2 is forward bias. B2 is the base junction of transistor Q2. So here this point gets forward biased and hence the transistor Q2 is on. So this is one state wherein Q1 is off and Q2 is on. Since Q2 is on, so right here, since transistor Q2 is on, there will be tremendous amount of current passing through it. So we'll mark this current as IC2. So it is reflected here. The current IC2 is the current passing through the collector terminal of transistor Q2. Now from the fundamentals we know that collector current is as good as emitter current. So IC2 is as good as IE2. And this current IE2 from the emitter terminal, from here, it follows this path and hence there will be a voltage drop across this resistor RE. And this voltage drop is denoted as VE. So we can write VB2 equals to VBE plus VE. So the voltage at this particular point, that is VB2, will be the voltage across base emitter terminal and the voltage across the emitter resistor. Now this VE reverse bias the transistor Q1. Already NPN transistor, so P is connected to zero potential and we are having some voltage at this particular point. So this VE, that is the voltage drop across this resistor at this particular point, reverse biases the transistor Q1 and maintains it at cutoff. So because of this, transistor Q1 is maintained to off condition, and we can write the output voltage. So in this case, in case of Schmitt trigger, we take the output from the only one terminal. So output voltage will be equal to V0 equals to VCC, that is the applied signal or battery signal, source signal, minus the drop across the resistor RC2. So we can write it as product of IC2 into RC2. Now, as the input signal applied at the terminal of the base of the first transistor, that is Vi, increases. So like we'll assume that the signal Vi increases. So accordingly, the voltage at the base of the transistor will increase. So when VB1 equals to Vi equals to VBE plus VE equals to VB2, we say that the transistor Q2 is turned on. So this initial voltage Vi should be greater or equal to the voltage VBE and voltage VE. The moment it reaches that particular voltage, the transistor Q1 is turned on. Since the transistor Q1 is driven into saturation, naturally the current IC1 will increase, and due to the switching action, the voltage at the collector terminal, that is VC1, will decrease. This decrease in VC1, that is this fall in VC1, is coupled to the base of transistor Q2, and hence transistor Q2 is turned off. The moment the transistor Q2 is turned off, then IC2 naturally becomes 0, and in that case the output voltage V0 will be equal to VCC. Now that's the minimum value of Vi. So we have started with initial condition that Vi was 0, and then we started to increase the value of Vi, and when this value of Vi is equal to VBE plus VE, then the transistor Q1 is turned on. So thus the minimum value of Vi for which this transition occurs from Q1 off to Q1 on. So Q1 was earlier off. Now due to this action, Q1 is turned on. Now this is referred to as upper trigger point. Important concept. So it is referred to as upper trigger point. In short, UTP. Now this is the equivalent circuit when transistor Q1 is on and Q2 is off. So you can go through this circuit. Now let us analyze what about LTP, that is lower triggering point. So from this circuit you can make out the emitter current will be equal to emitter voltage divided by RE here at this particular point. But then what is VE? So VE will be Vi minus of VBE divided by RE. Now try to understand this sequence of event. We have started with Vi equal to 0, then Vi begins to increase. At some particular voltage, the transistor Q1 becomes on and it goes into saturation, and that is what is referred to as upper trigger point. Now this initial the input signal starts to decrease. Fine. Now as this input voltage Vi reduces, naturally the IE will reduce, so will be IC. Now if IC decreases, VC1 increases, and this VC1 is the voltage across the collector terminal of first transistor, which again is connected to the base of the transistor Q2. So if VC1 increases, naturally the VB2 will increase. So when Vi is decreased to a value that VB2 equals to VBE plus VE equals to Vi, Q2 will begin to turn on. Therefore, since the transistor Q2 goes to saturation, naturally the current IC2, the current passing through the collector terminal of transistor Q2 increases, and IE also will increase. So VE increases. Naturally, what is VE? VE is the product of IE into the resistance RE. So this collector current increases. Naturally, the emitter current will increase. So will be the voltage drop across resistor RE. So we can say VE increases. So VI at certain stage, VI becomes less than VBE plus this change in VE. So transistor Q1 will be turned off, and VC1, the moment the transistor is switched to off condition, the current passing through it is 0, but then the output voltage VC1 will rise, and this VC1 is in turn connected to the base of transistor Q2. So this will maintain the transistor Q2 to on condition. So try to understand this sequence. So thus the value for VI for which the transition occurs from Q1 off to Q1 on. So I'll write here from Q1 off to Q2 on is called as lower trigger point. So I'll write a full form here. It is lower trigger point. You can pause this slide and go through the sequence of action. Now the difference between the UTP and the LTP is referred to as hysteresis. Now here you can observe the waveform. This is the input signal which rises from 0 to maximum, then again back to 0 and minimum. So we can mark this as A. This value here is B. Here it is C, the peak value. This point on the signal is D, which is equivalent to value B. Let us mark this as E, and finally this point as F. So these are the different levels of input signal. Fine. Now, as what we have studied, there are two states. In one state, the transistor Q2 is on and Q1 is off. In another state, Q1 is on and Q2 is off. Now, there are two waveforms drawn here. When the transistor Q2 is on, then for this time interval output will be high, and for this time interval output will be 0. So here there are two transitions occurring here. This transition wherein the transistor goes into on condition, the output naturally becomes 0. So at this point the output becomes 0, and then as we keep on increasing the voltage, at some point the initial voltage, the voltage VI becomes less than VBE plus VE, what we have discussed in the previous slide. Then the transistor again goes into cutoff and output becomes high. So for this time interval, transistor is in saturation, the output voltage becomes 0. This is for another state. Fine. Now we will try and understand the input and output waveform with respect to each other. Fine. Let us mark this point as A. So here the beginning point. Now for the interval A to B, for this level of signal from A to B, the output is low. So that is being marked here. So output is, so it can go up to VCC, and we mark this as near about 0. So up to a value of VB for the input signal, what we are trying to plot here is the input signal versus the output signal. Fine. We have this 6 different levels: A, B, C, D, E and F. Fine. So from the level A to B, when the input increases from A to B, the output voltage is 0. So this value is VCE set. As we keep on increasing the voltage from at point B, at this point there is a transition, the signal, the output voltage shift from VCE set to VCC. So it goes into high state, high value. So this is being shown here, and it will be maintained in higher state as long as we can go up to a value of VCC, it is high. So we go in this direction, it is high, C is greater than B, so this is the value of B as far as input signal is concerned. So we can go up to C, then the signal starts to drop down, so we again travel in the reverse direction. So again till the point D is reached, you can check out output is high. So B and D are at same level. Now the input signal D reduces from D to E. So with respect to V in, you can make out the signal, input signal drops down from D to E, and at this position at E there is a change in the signal output. There's a transition, so it moves from high to low. So at this point the signal, the output voltage shift back to 0 till the value of F is reached. This is what is referred to as hysteresis. So it is seen from the characteristics that to effect a transition in one direction, we must first pass beyond the voltage at which reverse transition took place. So this effect is called as hysteresis. So these are the applications of Schmitt trigger circuit. So it is used for generation of rectangular waves with sharp edges from a sine or any other waveform. Like for example, right now the case what we have seen is a sinusoidal signal. Fine. So there are two levels. This point is referred to as upper trigger point, and this point is referred to as lower trigger point. So accordingly, we are going to have a transition here at the output. So this is VCE set, and this is, it can go up to maximum VCC. Now this is for a sinusoidal signal. We can get this type of a comparator signal even for any random signal. Like for example, I am having this kind of a signal. So we have to set the reference level. Mark this as upper trigger point and this as lower trigger point. So this is the incoming signal. So we can very well generate a pulse signal from any kind of input signal. That is the meaning of the first point mentioned here. Next, it can be used as a voltage comparator to mark the moment at which an arbitrary waveform attains a particular reference level. It can be used in wave shaping circuits, and it can be used as a flip-flop. Flip-flop are used as a memory elements. Next is the designing for the upper trigger point. Now if you refer to that a circuit diagram, there are two transistors, transistor Q1 and transistor Q2. Each transistor has got its own collector resistance, RC1 and RC2. And this UTP is decided by the collector resistances. If RC1 and RC2 are of equal value, then we need not design the LTP. This we'll try to understand from the numerical analysis. Otherwise, if you want to have a separate values, like for example, input signal can vary from plus 12 to minus 12 volts, and we can set the upper trigger point at say 8 volts and lower trigger point at 3 volts. Similarly, we can set this LTP and UTP at the same level. It can be both a 6 volt UTP and 6 volt LTP and so on. So that all we are going to study now. Designing for the UTP. UTP stands for upper trigger point. So what is this UTP? UTP is equal to the Q2 base voltage VB2 when transistor Q2 is on. So therefore the circuit is designed to have VB2 equal to specified UTP. Potential divider R1 and R2 together with RC1 must provide a stable bias voltage VB2 for Q2 to maintain the transistor Q2 in on condition. Third point, however, R1 and R2 must be large enough to avoid overloading RC1. You can go through this statement. I'll give an example. Fourth point, if R1 and R2 are made large, IB2, that is the base current going into the transistor Q2, will cause a large voltage drop across R1 when Q2 is switched on. Most importantly, from this 5 listed point, the most important point is the last one. Take I2 equals to IE2 by 10 and then calculate R2 as VB2 by I2. We will try to understand this by solving a numerical. So this is the problem statement. A Schmitt trigger circuit is to have UTP equals to 5 volts. The two silicon transistors are to be used have HFE minimum as 100 and IC is to be 2 milliamperes. The available supply is 12 volts. Design a suitable circuit. So when it comes to design, you have to check out what should be the values of the components RC1, RC2, R1, R2 and so on. Now in this case, it has not mentioned anything about the lower trigger point. So we will proceed. So referring to the figure and the discussion what we had, the UTP, that is upper trigger point, equals to VB2, which equals to 5 volt to make the transistor Q2 on. Similarly, we can write, so UTP equals to VB2 equals to 5 volt. This is from the problem statement. This voltage is required to make the transistor Q2 to or maintain transistor Q2 to on condition. VE, that is the emitter voltage, equals to VB2 minus VBE. So it's 5 volts minus 0.7 given in the problem statement equals to 4.3 volts. How do I got this as 0.7 volt? It is clearly mentioned here. The transistor are of type silicon. Emitter current is as good as collector current, which equals to 2 milliamperes. So we can as easily calculate the value of RE, that is the emitter resistance, equals to VE here, VE divided by IE. Now this value is 2.15 kilo ohms. So we can write here, use 2.2 kilo ohms standard value. Now taking Q2 as saturated, VCE set will be 0.2 volts. Now this is the typical value. So Q2 is on, that is saturated. So practically the output voltage will not be 0, it will be around 0.2 volts. This is the typical value. Now what will be the voltage drop across RC2? So voltage drop across RC2 will be IC into RC2. So we can write IC into RC2 equals to VCC minus VE minus VCE set. Fine. So substitute the values. 12 volts minus 4.3 volts minus 0.2 volts. So the answer is 7.5 volts. So it is the voltage drop across RC2 here. Hope this is clear to all. Second step, RC2 equals to 7.5 volts divided by IC, and IC is 2 milliamperes, so we'll just substitute 7.5 volt divided by 2 milliamperes. So the value of RC2 is 3.75 kilo ohms. So near about value, the standard value will be 3.9. Yes, it will be 3.9 kilo ohms is the standard value. Now from the steps, the fifth point, the value of I2 equals to 1 by 10 times IE. So we'll substitute 1 by 10 into the value of IE is as good as IC, that is 2 milliamperes. So it is 0.2 milliamperes. Fine. Next step. Now we'll try to calculate the value of R2. So from the figure we can make out R2 is VB2 divided by I2. So it's always advisable to draw the circuit in the left hand side. So it becomes easier to visualize these component values. So VB2 is 5 volts and I2 is 0.2 milliamperes. So this value is 25 kilo ohms, and you know the standard near about value will be 22 kilo ohms. Okay. Now what about I2? So I2 will be 5 volts divided by 22 kilo ohms, which equals to 0.0, sorry, right here it is 0.227 milliamperes. Now why this value has got changed? Instead of using 25k, we are making use of 22 kilo ohms. So I'm just substituting that value over here to get the accurate value of I2. So instead of 0.2, it is 0.227 milliamperes, and IB2 will be equal to IC2 divided by HFE minimum. So substitute the value of IC2 upon 100 is 20 microamperes. Fine. Hope the steps are clear to all. We'll continue. Now IB2 plus I2 equals to 20 microamperes plus 0.227 milliamperes. So the total current is 0.247 milliamperes. Now from the figure we can write RC1 plus R1 equals to VCC minus VB2 divided by I2 plus IB2. Substitute the values. 12 minus VB2 is 5, that is the upper trigger point, and the current is 0.247. So this value is 28.3 kilo ohms. So we were able to calculate the value of RC2, R2 and so on. Now when in this problem statement the value of LTP is not specified, when LTP value is not specified, RC1 may be made equal to RC2. So RC1 will be made equal to RC2 when LTP is not specified. So it is not specified. Fine. Now if separately the LTP value is specified, then we cannot follow this particular approach. Then this will be explained in the next numerical. So the fourth component, RC1 equals to RC2, and we have already calculated the value of RC2 in the second step. It is 3.9 kilo ohms. Fine. Now we can write R1 equals to RC1 plus R1 minus RC1. So it is 28.3 kilo ohms minus of 3.9 kilo ohms. This 28.3 I obtained from the previous expression. So the value is 24.4 kilo ohms. So near about value will be, the standard value of resistor will be 22 kilo ohms. So this is the standard value. So we have come to end of this problem. We have been able to find out the component values successfully. Now in the problem statement it was given as 5 volts for UTP. Fine. And for this 5 volts of UTP we were getting different values for the components. Like for resistor it was, say for example, 2.1k, we used 2.2k, the nearest value. Similarly here the value of R1 was 24.4 kilo ohms. So instead of that we are using 22 kilo ohms. Now it so happens that since standard value components have been selected for the above design, the UTP will not be exactly as specified. So practically we are not going to get 5 volts as per the design. So in that case, there's a remedy here. A potentiometer connected between R1 and R2 with Q2 base connected to its moving contact would provide adjustment to obtain a precise level of UTP. Fine. Again, practically it's quite possible. We can easily get the desired value of UTP by this certain slight modification. And what is that modification? We're going to connect a potentiometer between R1 and R2, and that movable slider will be connected to the base of Q2, and practically by observing on the CRO we can set it to 5 volts. Now next scenario, wherein we have to design the circuit for both UTP as well as LTP. Now when Vi decreases to the value of LTP, the circuit is about to change the state, but Q1 is still on and Q2 is off. This is what we have explained in the previous slide. As Vi, that's the input signal, approaches the LTP, the lower triggering point, VB1 is decreasing and VB2 is increasing. Fine. So the LTP occurs when VB2 equals to VB1 equals to Vi. So it has been written here. The design procedure when both UTP and LTP are specified is exactly the same as previous example up to the point at which RC1 is chosen. So we'll start with the next problem. Second problem, a Smith trigger circuit is to have a UTP of 5 volts and LTP of 3 volts. The two silicon transistors are to be used have HFE minimum equals to 100 and IC is to be 2 milliamperes. The available supply is 12 volts. Design a suitable circuit. Now there are two parts to this problem. Separately we have to find out the circuit designed for UTP and LTP. UTP is 5 volts. We already solved it in the previous example. So we'll borrow the data as it is from the previous example. So we'll write here from the previous example. If it is asked in the exam, you have to solve for both cases, UTP as well as LTP. Now here we can borrow from the previous example. What we have found out is the value of RC2 equals to 3.9 kilo ohms, and then RE equals to 2.2 kilo ohms, R2 equals to 22 kilo ohms, and we had one case wherein R1 plus RC1 equals to 28.3 kilo ohms. Fine. Now refer to this figure. Now this figure shows the circuit condition when Q1 is on. So right now here for this particular circuit condition, Q1 is on and Vi exactly at the LTP. So Vi will be exactly at LTP, which is nothing but a voltage at the base terminal of transistor Q2, and it is specified in the problem statement to be as 3 volts. Now to determine the LTP of a transistor Smith trigger circuit, Q2 is assumed to be off and the level of Vi calculated, that will give VB2 equals to Vi. So you have to remember this statement. So with that we'll proceed. I1 will be equal to VB2 upon R2. So it is 3 volts divided by 22 kilo ohms. So it is 0.136 milliamperes. And IC1 equals to IE, which equals to VB1 minus of VBE upon RE. So I substitute the values here. 3 minus 0.7 divided by 2.2 kilo ohms. So the current IE is 1.045 milliamperes. You can cross check the answers. So we'll continue. Now rewriting the equation, looking at the figure, VCC equals to RC1 in bracket IC1 plus I1. So this will be total voltage drop across RC1 plus I1 into R1 plus R2. We can rearrange the equation as RC1 IC1 plus I1 plus I1 28.3 3 kilo ohms minus RC2 plus R2. So further simplifying, RC1 IC1 plus I1, this is how much, 28.3 kilo ohms plus R2. So RC1 equals to VCC minus I1, 28.3 kilo ohms plus R2 divided by IC1. So you substitute the values. So it is 12 volts minus 0.136 milliamperes, 28.3 kilo ohms plus 22 kilo ohms divided by 1.045 milliamperes. So if you solve this, the value what we get is 4.94 kilo ohms, and the standard value, the value which is nearer to this 4.94 kilo ohms for discrete component is 4.7 kilo ohms. So I'll mark here this as the standard value. Fine. So from the previous expression, R1 is equal to 28.3 kilo ohms minus of RC1, and from the previous step we got the value of RC1 as 4.94. So, and instead of 4.94 what we have used is 4.7. So you substitute here. So it is 28.3 kilo ohms minus 4.7 kilo ohms. So the answer is 23.6 kilo ohms. So the standard value, nearest value will be 22 kilo ohms. So we have come to an end of this problem. So these are the review questions. You can go through these questions. Then if you refer to past semester question papers of Goa University, this has been frequently asked in, you can check out May June 2019, May June 2018 and November December 2018. So first question, explain the working of BJT Schmitt trigger circuit with a neat circuit diagram and waveforms. Waveforms are very much important, and waveforms have to be labeled one, meaning you have to state both state 1 and state 2. Which are the states? There are two stable states. We'll just revise. The first stable state is Q2 is on and Q1 is off. Second stable state is Q1 is on and Q2 is off. So when the transistor is on, output is VCE set, that is 0.2 volts, and when the transistor is off, output is near about equal to VCC. So you're going to have a toggling output VC set to VCC for a different specified reference level, that is UTP and LTP. And UTP, LTP need not be different values, it can be of same values. So by properly selecting the value of UTP and LTP, we can decide about the pulse width of the output waveform, and not necessarily that we have to have a sinusoidal signal. It can be any noisy signal, and we can have a kind of a comparator circuit. Fine. Next question, write short note on Schmitt trigger. Whenever this type of question is asked, you have to again start with the definition of what is Schmitt trigger. Then you draw the circuit diagram, then write something about the construction, operation, waveform and applications. Fine. Don't simply write about the operation, or don't simply write about the construction. You have to write in brief about all the aspects of that Schmitt trigger whenever this type of question is asked. Short note. Now third question, explain the working of Schmitt trigger circuit with the help of relevant waveforms. Now here you have to highlight the waveforms. You have to draw the circuit diagram, but then your answer has to revolve around those waveforms. So you have to mark what is VC1, what is VC2, what is VB1, what is VB2, and so on. So with this, we have come to an end of this video lecture on Schmitt trigger. I have already uploaded lectures on monostable multivibrator, astable multivibrator and bistable multivibrator. And in each of these video lectures I started with some basic fundamental theory, the construction, working, operation, application and the numericals. Fine, so you can go through it. Thank you.